Hello and welcome to Candidate Q&A number 3 of the Leadership Race 2025. My name is Jamie Robertson and I am the Student Voice and Advocacy Manager at the Students' Union / Deputy Returning Officer when it gets to election time. So I'm the elections person. Hopefully that's the last I'll talk about me and what I do, because we're joined by 3 lovely candidates in this year's Leadership Race. Let's give them a round of applause. Aren't they lovely? And in no ways nervous at all. Everything's going to be fine. So to kick us off, if you're watching this Q&A at home, this is the 3rd one that we're doing. Maybe you're watching them out of order because you're a bit of a maverick. So don't forget to go and watch the number 1 and number 2 if you haven't watched them already. And if you have watched them and this is your 3rd go, well done. You don't win anything other than a lovely warm feeling inside. But I won't bore you with what we're going to do because you've likely already seen it. So to kick us off, would you all just like to introduce yourself? We'll start with you, Joe.
Hi, so I'm Joe Taplin. My slogan is "Your Union, Your..." I botched it already. I completely forgot already. Can we cut already?
Take a breath,
Yeah.
Joe. So what I had said for the other 2 Q&A events that we've done is all of the candidates have not seen any of the questions that they're about to be asked, and they've only been briefed on what is about to be done to them as they got into this room to start. So it's totally normal if something goes wrong and if you need a little minute and if you need to restart your answer, please don't feel the pressure too much. All you've got is obviously the voice team behind the camera just silently judging you. That's the only thing you can worry about. But have another go, Joe. Take your time, mate. Over to you.
So hi, my name's Joe Taplin. My slogan is "Your Union, Your Experience."
Wonderful. Well done. Over to you, Leah.
All right. Some of you may know me already. Hi, I'm Leah Thompson. I'm one of the current officers rerunning this year. My slogan is technically 2-parter because I couldn't decide if I wanted to be serious or silly with it. So my slogans are, it's all about you, live, laugh, Leah.
And Con.
Hi, I'm Con. I'm a BA, 3rd year BA esports student. My slogan is, you can't spell candidate without I can. But yeah.
Well done. Give them another round of applause, everybody. Well done. That's first hurdle cleared. There you go. You can breathe out. So, but you do have to give me the biggest cheesy ooh as I reach for our magical box of questions. Ooh. There you go. Good work. Good work. So the box contains questions submitted by students at random. There you go. Just showing that it is a box of random questions. So these questions have all been submitted by students. So I don't know what you're going to be asked, and obviously you don't know what you're going to be asked either. We did have a question that didn't make any sense whatsoever, so I had to redraw yesterday. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but let's see. Let's find out. Don't know if that's coming out on camera, but apparently the world is ending outside of the room. So we'll see. If you can hear a large buzzing drilling sound, don't worry, you're safe, but we might not be. So let's go in reverse order for the questions. So we start with you, Joe, but we'll come to you, Connor, first, and let's see what we've got. We have, I hope it makes sense. Okay, so it does make sense. What does accessibility mean for you? And what does it mean for the Students' Union?
Of course. So, as a disabled student myself, accessibility is a big part of my life at university. But I know that accessibility isn't just specific to disabilities, it's specific to anything that needs to be accessible to anyone in any capacity. And I think that's an especially important part of the union itself, because in terms of what accessibility means, it's how easy it is to access anything, no matter who you are, being able to have the best time at university with the support that you need, be it physical support, academic support, mental health support, financial support, any of that, having that available when you need it to be used exactly when you need it, and yeah, to help you out.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Connor. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. That's very painful. So even I get thrown. See, I've got very thrown there as well. So Leah,
The answer was just so good.
there you go. That's it. Blew tear to my eye, Connor. So Leah, we'll come to you next.
My go.
And
All
I will.
right.
Please don't be disconcerted if I wink at you during this, but.
That's all right.
So, several manifestos mention our other teaching sites, for example, Stafford and London. How will you build an understanding of what these students want and need?
Okay, I might have to pause a few times during this. I'm really sorry. So some of the stuff in my manifesto isn't specifically about other sites, but takes other sites into consideration. So something that I ran on last year that I'm also running on this year is around communication and making sure the communication between the university and you, or the union and you, is up to scratch and like what you essentially expect, like being someone who's actually a paying customer to be at the university. And something that I plan to do this year that I would like to carry over to next year is trying to build a better understanding cross-campus. So having opportunities for students who normally wouldn't be able to go to different campuses, things along those lines, to actually get to visit different campuses, because I think sometimes, especially between London and the other campuses, there's a bit of a divide where maybe London students don't feel like they're treated the same, and I would like to try and like build opportunities for people to actually see what the other has. Like I remember last year during GradX, a bunch of London students came up to see Stokeson's work and to take part. And that was a really great experience because I got to speak to students from a different campus I knew nothing about, and it really helped me build that understanding. And also, alongside that, something that I've worked into my manifesto this year is something that I've personally seen a lot this year, which is sort of building on the campus experience and making it feel like a campus that you want to be on. And as part of that, I would like to also focus on different sites, as I do feel like sometimes people feel like everything is very Stoke-centric and that everything is in Stoke. So as part of that, I would like to build on a lot of events, just day-to-day, like pop-ups, things like that. That obviously we have a lot of in Stoke, but also bringing that to different campuses as well as bringing more to Stoke, of course. But yeah. Hope that answers the question. I'm sorry that was a lot of talking.
That's right, I mean this whole event is about a lot of talking. So
that's good.
Joe, we'll come to you next. This is a long one, but okay.
Oh dear.
So, no, it's okay. Don't panic. So the union, the Students' Union is legally a charity. How do you feel about being a trustee of that charity and being responsible for making sure that the organisation is running as well as it should be? And might you have any experience that's relevant to running organisations or groups?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
I can.
Because of how long it is, I'm like...
So the Students' Union is legally a charity. So obviously when any student is elected to become a full-time officer, you also become a trustee of the Students' Union as a charity. So how do you feel about becoming a trustee? Because it's the trustee board that runs the charity. And do you have any experience that's relevant to that part of the role?
So myself personally, I don't have any of that kind of experience personally, but as someone, as a union team member, I've worked within the union myself, as has Con and obviously as Leah has as the officer this year, but understanding that business side of things, but understanding how things work as well, taking that into consideration in my manifesto in terms of those services, but also considering this as well. Like I am a committee member for the Scarlets for a sports team, and I've sort of gone blank right now. So yeah, yeah, pretty much.
But that's good. So, yeah, the experience of being in those groups. Yeah. Great. Okay. Thanking you. So we'll go for another round. And you're the only Q&A where we don't have somebody joining online, so we'll stay in the room for another round of questions. I'm going to try and mix it up, but it's a bit difficult with three of you. I was going to say, Leah, you'll go first, but we'll do next, if that's all right.
That's all right.
And your second question is, how do you think the university can better let students know how students' fees are spent on their experience at staffs?
Is that for me?
That's for you.
Alright, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So how do you think the university can better let students know how their fees are spent on their experience as staffs?
Okay. I think something that would really help in the grand scheme of things, again, something that is part of my manifesto, is around communication and transparency. When the university is spending money on doing things, on making financial decisions, I think a lot of the time they either don't tend to say much about it, or they tend to kind of sugarcoat it and hide, like, oh, here's all the boring financial stuff, don't look at that, look at the pretty thing, or don't look at this at all. I think probably something that would be really useful is when communications are going out about projects the university are doing, just talking about where that money's coming from, why it's being spent, and why do students want it? Because obviously, from like my point of view as a now officer, I sometimes hear a lot of the decisions, and from a personal point of view, I can understand why certain decisions are being made, but I feel like they don't do a very good job of articulating that to the greater student population. So basically just including things like that in communication pieces, making sure that students are actually getting the full story rather than just a small segment of it that they may feel a little bit upset about because they just think, oh, why is the university spending money on this thing? Or why is it not spending money on this thing instead? Just breaking down, making sure that students understand the decisions being made, why they're being made, and yeah, I think that made sense.
Made sense to me.
That's good.
Well done. So Connor, we'll come to you.
Okay.
It's another kind of communication one. A lot of students seem to be unaware of how the Students' Union can support them. What do you think is the best way to change this?
This is actually part of one of my larger manifesto projects that I've put into my manifesto this year, called Project Spring Cleaning. And involved with that is just making it more evident what the union can do, to make it clear what it can do for students, and to work on stuff that we know that students aren't too happy with already. And I think at the moment, students find a lot about the union through socials. So through the website, through social media, through support systems. And those support systems aren't evident enough that I know of on socials, on the website. And it feels like almost a bit of a trek to find, for example, Student Voice or the advice team. And it, at the moment, while there's so much support available, like financial support, like mental health support, a lot of that isn't really prevalent to students as much as it can be. And I think we have so much that we can do, like the ones I've mentioned before, but I think very much be pushed to students more so they know that we're here for them, not that we are just here if they need us. It's more of a situation of when you need us, we are here, not as an option, like for the few.
Right, thank you. So Joe, we'll come to you for your final question. Built-in tension. What have we got? Everybody continues to struggle with cost of living, and that challenge doesn't seem to be getting it better anytime soon. How would you make sure students get the support they need if you're elected?
So one of my points in my manifesto is raising awareness of things like the last question you asked to Con a second ago was about union services and that. One of the things that I wanted to bring back was free cereal and free toast, and to essentially raise more awareness of that, especially in marketing, as I feel like it was such an underrated and overlooked aspect that we had over the last 2 years, especially with how we've come out of COVID and how obviously things are going in an economic sense. And I feel like bringing that back would make things a little bit easier for people to make it, obviously, make things like making sure you don't starve and making sure you're keeping fit and healthy, more or less. But it's definitely something that I've considered.
Great, thank you, and you'll all be relieved. The magical box of questions is going away. But give them a round of applause because they've done really well. Well done, everybody. Phase 2 complete, there you go. And we've had hammering and drilling and things in eyes, but we're still going, we're still here. So, the next part of the Q&A session that we'll move on to involves our student voice wheel, which I remembered the name of today. Ooh, thank you, Maxie. Which I'm going to spin now and explain what it does, because it takes ages to spin. And you can see the nervousness, the tension is palpable. So the wheel has topics from our recent Speak Week, where we spoke to 200 students, and they told us the things that are important to them. And we're going to spin this, as we've just done. It's landed on student money, and that is going to be a topic for a brief discussion between yourselves as candidates. So it's just an opportunity for you to talk about something that we know matters to students. During Speak Week, where we spoke to over 200 people, we asked them, what would you do if you ran the university? And as themes that have come out from that exercise, it's clear that student money is very important to people. So, whether that's finance and funding or work or whatever it might be. We'll stick with student money, even though...
I don't think the wheel wants us to, though.
Is this the dinosaur? Is the dinosaur doing this? Drawn to learning and teaching, which we've already had twice. So. But great, we will stick with student money. It's probably going to go back, isn't it? But we'll stick with student money. And really, I'll just throw it open to you three to discuss that as something that matters to students.
Not sure who wants to start the conversation, but...
I can start.
I'll let you.
I was going to say, I've spoken now. Do you want me to, or...?
I can do it, I don't know.
Go on,
You go.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn with this one, in the sense that a large amount of students, myself included, find ourselves impacted by student finance in the sense that we don't get as much as we think we should, or the student loan gets dropped from, for example, I was on maximum in my first year, and then in my second year I was dropped down to minimum. And that can impact a lot of students, and it really does hurt when that happens to people, because it shows you that, everything you had planned in your first year immediately drops off in your second, and you have to sort of replan everything that you had originally, and you have to rewire everything you had. And finding services on campus to accommodate for that, to help fit your budget, is especially difficult. I know that the Student Union does its best in terms of making venues and everything in venues and, for example, Squeezebox, Ember, as affordable as possible for students. But obviously with cost of living and stuff changing, prices have to go up, or prices have to go down, or prices have to change to accommodate for the economy at the moment. But I've had a lot of people speak to me at the moment just saying, like, prices in for example, Squeezebox or Ember are going up, and it's becoming less and less feasible to stick to these habits, these usual things that they do every day to get them by. And obviously with student loan dropping for some people, that becomes difficult, and that becomes a bit of a I can't remember the word. It changes how they do things day to day. And I think just finding a baseline with venues to fit everyone, because obviously if the majority of people are struggling to afford things at venues, or they're finding it uncomfortable to go in there, obviously then business is going to go down. Or, for example, people are going to go into Ember less and less if the food that they want isn't being sold as much, or the drinks they want isn't being sold as much, or the prices have gone up so they can't afford it. And then that both impacts students and that impacts the union as a business and as a charity. So I think finding a middle point between those is a good idea, because it helps students realise that they can work with the money they have, and it also almost functions as a subconscious financial support system by making everything work for everyone if possible, finding that middle ground.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned the thing about how people's finance tends to go down over time, because that's what happened to me. I did stay quite close to the max amount of student finance, but my finance went down every single year through my undergrad, and obviously going on to a master's, you get essentially the baseline level of funding, which is like categorically not enough to live on. So if I wasn't working through that, I would probably have struggled to survive. But I think it's really interesting, because when we've had the opportunities to speak to other unions in the country, that's something that's come up across the board, is that students feel like they can't go out and spend money. They feel like, they're having to choose between studying and working, because they have to figure out the balance of being able to actually get by and live. I think something that really, I had a conversation with one of the officers, I think from Manchester Uni, about this, but they said basically that it's kind of insane that the cost of living is even really a concept, because why is there a cost to living?
Exactly.
But I think that's something that I don't know, I've read all of you guys' manifestos and I'm pretty sure it's something that all of us touch on to a degree. I know something that I was thinking about is like potentially like having more free events, or like Joe said, like making sure that people actually know about the stuff that is actually on offer. I don't know if you want to expand on that, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like I do, well, we're all in agreement anyway, but it's the thing of like, I mean, for you guys, you went from like the maximum loan, like for me, I was at the bare minimum. And so it's the thing of like having jobs like a lot of people know that I've got like multiple jobs and that kind of thing. It's like, even as a part-time student, I'm doing a part-time master's degree, you have to pay council tax as well, and it's things of like, even like we've all said it, it's like loans aren't enough to cover that, and it's the thing of how do you accommodate to those services so that being part of a university is like not just your student experience, but it's your student experience is everything outside of your degree, and it's the thing of obviously your social life, but also your living and like how you, well, your independent life, if you understand what I mean, and obviously that's eating and like getting all your like washing bits and like all that stuff, like circuit laundry and that, and it's stuff like that. It's like it's barely enough to like cover it, but it's like why in my manifesto I'm like saying about things of like free events, but also raising more awareness for those kind of events so that people can still like have a good time and like not worry about like spending more and like giving something back in a way.
And I do feel like a lot of the time, I'm sorry to come up with what you said, but a lot of the time when there's discussions about like cost of living for students, it's always very focused around full-time home, like undergraduate students, but like at least in my experience, it tends to be the people that fall outside of those categories that are the most heavily impacted by it, because international students are having to leave their country to come over here. They're paying more in fees. Part-time students, like,
especially with work visas and that as well. Because it's 20 hours, isn't it? I believe.
It's something like that. But it's insane that that's something that's so left out of conversation a lot of the time. Like even a lot of like bursaries and things like that exist are really realistically only really for undergraduate home students, and that's not really fair.
I do want to add on a little bit because the union does offer a lot of services that do help students make money. Obviously, myself and Joe were UTMs, and you're an officer.
Yeah.
But you were a UTM before that, right?
Yeah, I was a UTM before that.
So I think the union works very well in terms of helping students make money. I think there are just certain parts of the union which could open up a little bit more to students. For example, the creative support team. I am a member of the creative support team, and that is the team that helps make advertisements for events. Anything that you see on the venue screens around campus, it's that sort of thing. The creative support team helps with. But at the moment, it feels like there are so many artists and so many people on campus that could help towards that. So many people who could film, so many people who could make art, so many people who know graphic design or just any creative topics on campus. And I think at the moment, the gates are just shut on the creative support team, and they need to be open to allow people to have that ability to make the money off what they do and what they love.
I'm pretty sure everyone here is also like a creative student, right? Yeah, because you're esports, but you do like a lot of graphic stuff. You're film, and I'm a game artist. But like, I think it's really frustrating sometimes because I know so many people that would have really loved to have done that while they were students that really struggled financially, and they didn't even know that it was a thing until they left. I didn't know it was a thing really until I was in my masters.
It's just one of those things where getting the word out about that is the first step that's needed to show students, especially in creative industries, that they can make money off of what they love doing. Because as much as the university like pushes that students should enjoy and make money off what they love, realistically, they won't learn how to do that outside of university unless they get really lucky. So it's one of those things where the union can be that helping hand to go, you love doing this, let's help you make money off of that.
And I know this is something that pops up in both of our manifestos in like regards to just like some of the student art things that have popped up over the last year or two, and how students love it, but it's also brilliant for students that are like artists that want to make a little bit of money or just, you know, want the experience of selling something by themselves. Like stuff like that, if it happened more often, would probably really help a lot of students out. Because not only are they getting that experience, but they've got something they can point at and be like, look, I can do this, I can sell my work, and that means so much for a creative.
Yeah, like it would be, in an ideal world, the way that I imagine it, would be something like StartCon branching out into just being available to all creatives. Have people there advertising their filming businesses or their cinematography businesses. Have people there promoting their graphic design. Obviously comic arts, fine arts, fashion, that sort of thing. Just having a place more than one time in a semester where people can just showcase what they've been doing, and people can come up to them and go, hey, I need to do some filming, or hey, I need some graphic design for my business, how much are your commission rates? Just opening up the doors and making it very clear that students can earn from what they love.
And I think as well, a lot of that stuff, like with like things like careers fairs and stuff like that pop up on campus, I feel like a lot of the time people don't really know that stuff like that is something we offer.
Yeah.
And I think it's such an important thing, because like, I don't know about you guys, but I personally know like students that have gotten really, really good jobs from going to things like that while they've been in their studies, and that's been essentially what's funded them the entire way through their degree.
I mean, I was going to say, like, basically echoing what you guys have said, essentially about like branching out things like StartCon and that, but obviously like things like exist like Etsy and stuff. I'm not in disagreement or anything.
Yeah, no, of course.
But it's like the thing of like, obviously those come with different things of like tax, and then obviously packaging.
Yeah.
And it's obviously people trying to branch out further, but it's like having these kind of, well, I'm trying to think the right words.
You're doing great, don't worry.
Obviously things like StartCon, it would be great to like branch it out and that kind of stuff, especially even like having it weekly or even monthly and that, especially like how we have the vintage fair, and having these things like come in, it would just be fantastic for that, especially a lot of us are creative, and it's like a chance for us to like branch out and show our portfolios like you guys have said.
Yeah, even just having stuff that people can come by and be like, oh, wow, that's something there. That's our students that have done that.
Yeah.
That's us, guys.
Brilliant. Well done. We covered a lot of ground there. We went from loan entitlement to employment opportunities to cost of living and everything in between. So that was really, it's been very interesting for me to listen to the different discussions that have happened. Because obviously as staff at the Students' Union, we're there to support everybody getting through the process of the election. And we don't actually often get that much time to listen to what candidates have got to say and hear them talk about their ideas ourselves. So these three Q&As have been really interesting, including that one. So give them a round of applause, everybody. You've done really well. And you can feel the weight lifting. You're nearly there. We're nearly done now. So all that's left really is to just sign off and give a little goodbye. So we'll go in the reverse order to when we started. So Con, if you want to just sign off as you said hello.
Absolutely. So thank you for listening to me. It's nice to be able to yap for a little bit. Obviously remember to vote. Voting is very important. Don't forget to do that. And consider me. It would be nice, because you can't spell candidate without I can.
Ooh.
Well, he's impressed anyway.
I have to follow that up now.
Go on, Lee.
So yeah, of course, as Connor said, voting is opening soon. Please, please, please make sure that you vote, even if it's not for any of us here. Even if like you just choose to like pick someone because you think their picture's funny, just vote. It's so important that you have input in who is representing you as a student. I guess to add on to that, to do my quick shill, I'm running on a platform of communication, better facilities, and making campus a place that you want to be. My manifesto isn't about me, it's about you. It's all about you. So vote to live, laugh, Leah on the 29th of April to the 1st of May. Those are the correct dates, right?
This is the correct
Okay, yes.
Well
Vote
done.
29th of April to the 1st of May. Vote to live, laugh, Leah. Thank you.
That's how I thought of that as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. Thanks for watching me being a nervous wreck, as always. It's fine. I'm trying to think what to say now. Well, I keep going blank, honestly. My manifesto focuses on accessibility, awareness, and safety across campus. Obviously, please vote. It's so important that everyone votes, especially at this time of year. And obviously, I'm trying not to sound desperate and that kind of thing. But yeah, just please vote, guys.
Thank you, Joe, that's great. So they kind of stole my thunder there, but yes, voting is open tomorrow, Tuesday, the 29th of April, through to... I was going to test you then.
Thursday. I I'd already done my sign-off, Jim.
So
the energy
Need to
gone.
sign in again.
voting opens tomorrow, 10 a.m, Tuesday the 29th of April, and it closes at midnight on Thursday the 1st of May, so you did get it right. Everything is online, staffsunion.com/vote. That's where you can cast your vote, and it's also where you can read the manifestos of all of your full-time officer candidates. You can also see all the other posts that are up for election across student groups and some representative roles, so you can see the candidates there in the clubs or societies that you're a member of, or you can vote to choose your subject or site rep as well, in terms of other representatives for the next academic year. So well done again to all of you. Happy voting to everybody watching at home. And Maxie is writing a sign and holding it up for me because I have something else to say, which is very important, Maxie. So well done. This is the third and last Q&A that we're totally recording on the day that it's released and not pre-recording to read in advance to release later. Hence why this is the final one. I've made a little mention of all the other posts that are already available. So yes, we have 14 people running to be one of your 3 full-time officers for next year, but overall we've got 250 things that are in the election and up for grabs. So do make sure you vote for everything. Something which is also in, thank you Maxie, this year's election only, is a referenda. They really left me hanging there.
Sorry.
So this year we have a little bonus special something for all of our students to vote on. So following the university's name change, where we became University of Staffordshire, Staffordshire University Students' Union doesn't really work as a legal name for us as a charity. Therefore, we need to change that name. And you as students will be able to choose one of the 2 options that are available. So it's really, really important when you're casting your vote for full-time officer candidates or across any of your student group or representative roles, you'll also see an amendment to change the name of your students' union. So please do cast your vote in that, because it's probably quite important that as an organisation we have a name that makes sense and is kind of legally relevant. So thank you, Maxie, for my reminder to mention the referendum. So referendum, voting Tuesday to Thursday. Look at their smiling faces. Didn't they do well? So give them a round of applause and we'll sign off. Well done.